We're joined now by former Chief of Defense Staff, General Lucky Irabor. Thank you so much for joining us. It's a delight to have you on Newsnight. Recent events, concerning the military and its engagement with the civil populace have really led to a lot of concern about the military's what some say is unnecessary involvement of the military in civilian affairs, that it finds itself at the receiving end. What are your thoughts, especially on the issue of the Banex situation?
Well, first and foremost, let me thank you, Ngozi and Suleiman, for having me tonight. Let me say from the outset that I'm here as a private individual. I'm not here to represent the army, neither am I here to represent the armed forces. But of course, as a Nigerian who have served in the armed forces, and of course been retired, at the level I did, it would be inappropriate if I see what is going wrong and I do not speak against it. And so it's for that context, I would say that the Banex Plaza incident is a very sad one. Sad one in the sense that when you see a soldier in uniform, whether armed or not, you raise your hand against that individual. Besides being a soldier, even any uniformed person, for as long as he's an agent of the state, any attack on him is an attack on the state. And so every Nigerian of goodwill must condemn such acts. And so for me, I join to support the closure of Banex Plaza for as long as it takes to have everyone that is responsible for that dastardly act to be brought to justice. This is because if we fail to do so, then of course we'll be calling for anarchy. The only men who have sacrificed or who are sacrificing their lives to ensure our collective good are members of the armed forces and of course the police and other security agencies. So if on a slight provocation they are now attacked, to the extent, if not for the policemen and some other private individuals who rescued those, we have been looking at in Okwama too, which of course does not speak good to us. So I think that, and that's where I also want to appreciate what the media is doing, but I think that you need to put the context. In setting the agenda for the discussion, it must be to the extent that the populace need to be reconscientized to understand the place of national security and the responsibility of each of us in preserving the sanctity of our various establishments that that seek to make us live in a very good environment.
Okay, General Irabor, I'm excited that you're here, and it's good that you've been able to say that this is more or less like an attack to the Nigerian state.
Correct.
But the pain here is that sometimes, in as much as you try so hard to push that narrative which you just brought in as the media, you get some form of pushback or some kind of reluctance from the army or from the armed forces. So how do you help in that narrative of saying, look, this is our own institution, this is our country, this is our pride. Whoever you are, you don't touch one of those that have, because there are rules. But the military civil relations affairs, civil military affairs, and even the media of the armed forces have been mute in this case. Until now, in your personal capacity, you're here to talk.
Well, first and foremost, it might not be right or correct to say that the members of the armed forces are mute. Why? Because they are not, whatever job the members of the armed forces, whatever job they do, it's not on their behalf. It's on behalf of the state. So they are only an agent of state. So they ought not to speak for themselves. The state itself should speak for them. But you see, most times you find that they receive, the bashing. And it's on that account that perhaps we now have, the public relations personnel to perhaps situate it. Look at the statement that was put forward by the Army Public Relations Officer today. That is quite mild in my view, very mild. I think that, you know, it should be much harder than that. Not necessarily from the army, but actually from the appropriate agency of government to be able to speak against such dastardly acts. And I think that, you know, the army has a support.
What would you have done if you were in that position? Are you saying that this shutting down totally of the shopping complex Banex is not extreme, as you know, an extreme measure to make a point that you don't raise your hands or attack a uniformed Nigerian?
No, it's not extreme, but I also believe that it's not going to be in perpetuity. I believe, you know, see, one thing is clear, and it must be understood by all. The armed forces, you know, the armed forces of Nigeria is manned or pupilled by, you know, well-meaning individuals, people who reason even far above the average Nigerian. They are not, you know, without leadership. They are not without order. They are not without protocols. They are not without administrative procedures. So this is what must be contextualized, to know that these are men who are led, who are properly trained, who know what to do in the interest of the state. But to assume that every action that they undertake, or whatever action they do, they take, then of course they are acting beyond bounds. That's not correct. And I think that's what I need to put into context, because I've listened to very many representations. I thought that for me, at my, you know, having led the armed forces, and also in the unique position that one finds itself in the country, it would be inappropriate for me to sit back and see what is going wrong, because the nation itself belongs to all of us. If there is anarchy, you and I will not be spared. Even the business environment beyond the Banex Plaza certainly will certainly not exist. So it is better for us to avoid, you know, situations that will complicate the already precarious situation that we have. That's the point.
And truly, because you actually said that we shouldn't create. We're still in mourning.
Correct.
Talking about Okwama,
Yeah,
we're still in mourning. We can't take that out of our lives. But again, in trying not to reenact that evil upon us, how do we make this not look so bad so that those who are not responsible bear the brunt? In this case, what should the police or the army do in this case? Because if I were in that Banex Plaza and I'm not a part of it, and we are in the majority, definitely in this case, the majority were not involved.
Correct.
But they're paying the price.
Fine, I agree with you, and I think that it's also necessary for the Banex Plaza. I believe that there's an association. I believe that they have leadership. They need to cooperate appropriately so that, you know, whatever investigation that is ongoing can be concluded. And they must also cooperate by bringing out those who committed that act, for God's sake. I mean, I do not, you know, I do not subscribe to, acting, you know, irrationally. And I think that the army has been quite moderate by just occupying, and of course, on behalf of the state itself, to assist the agencies that will be responsible for the investigations. So for me, I can only, you know, call for a greater understanding on the part of those who are innocent in this case. And then this is actually, you know, when, you know, what we all bear, you know, the pains that we all bear collectively for acts, you know, of you know, such as that, you know, by people who you know, have lost their conscience, in my view.
Right. As a retired general, and only recently for that matter, what would be your advice to the Nigerian military in a way that they don't get themselves involved in these kinds of situations? Because a civilian went to, you know, get the attention of a soldier over the purchase of a telephone, of a handset, if you like. Only for the soldier to, you know, accompany the civilian to resolve the matter. Well, that intervention, was it not unnecessary? How should the military handle such situations?
Well, I don't intend to go into the
details,
the reasons why, you know, the soldiers went there. But whatever it is, the military has a set of protocols, disciplinary protocols, with which to administer itself. any erring officer or soldier who, for whatever reason, engages in acts that put the armed forces into disrepute, is disciplined. So, in such situations that perhaps happened, what ought to have happened is that there are channels of reporting such soldiers, and they will be arrested. They'll be arrested. But you laying hand on him while in uniform is an act not against the soldier, not against the armed forces, it's against the state. Because these are men who, our sovereignty, our territorial, what speaks to our territorial integrity. These are the symbol. So when you attack them, it's like you have attacked the territorial integrity of our nation.
General,
so this is the point.
Let's see if we can close on this.
Yes.
We've seen what the civil military affairs, has been doing over the years.
Correct.
And we've seen the soldiers building bridges,
correct,
hospitals,
correct,
Medicaid for communities. Yeah. Why do you think we still have people amongst us who think otherwise to lay hands on our officers and men? So
this is actually why I also call on the media. You set the agenda in most cases. And to also call, some other well-meaning Nigerians who, of course, are seized with, what, happens in very normal societies, to reorient, or if you like, to reorientate, our people, to bring greater awareness to them. The depth of ignorance is almost to the high heavens, and I think that has to be, will have to be a turnaround in that regard. For us to know that in our civics, for God's sake, there are people who you must respect. The police, no matter how bad they are, the military, no matter how bad they are, in any case, they came from among us. They didn't come from a different planet. Absolutely. They are from among us. They are all Nigerians. And so you can't also believe that, we're going to get another set of uniformed people to come to police our environment. Not at all. But amongst them, there are professionals. Of course, one or two or a few bad eggs are among them. That's the reason why the disciplinary protocols are there to make them to come back to line when it becomes so. For me, my appeal would be to you, the media, to also appeal to other Nigerians of goodwill, for them to situate this kind of situation, this kind of circumstances, and speak to the mind of the people, and then for Nigerians to also condemn in no small terms those who are responsible for this kind of acts, not just for this incident, but every other incident, and to also know that if you see someone who is committing any act against the state, you have a responsibility to arrest such an individual. So if that was done, I don't think they would have been speaking the way. I mean, you saw the pictures. Go ahead, Corey, come on. That's not right.
Indeed. I mean, it's been a delight having you on Newsnight tonight. Hope to see you more often and in better circumstances. I mean, just like the General has said, every Nigerian owes it a duty to show respect to men in uniform because they put their lives on the line for our safety and our good. Thank you so much, retired General Leo Irabor, former Chief of Defense Staff, joining us on Newsnight.